Hi everyone, it's Crafty Tina's. In today's video, we're going to talk about snowmen. We are still doing Christmas in July. It is super hot here in Florida, so I thought I'd show you how to make a few snowman treat holders. These little guys hold a peppermint circle or a peanut butter cup. They expand pretty big, so you can put any kind of candy you want in there. They'd be nice little gifts for like your kids' classmates or your coworkers or anybody you want to give a little treat to, and they're super cute. They're also made with the envelope punch board. We're going to make them with the envelope punch board, and then I'm going to also show you how you can use your Works board, the all-in-one Works by We Are Memory Keepers as well. So we're going to show you how to make these little snowmen. I'm going to give you all the sizes and show you where to punch. And then we're also going to make two gift boxes. This little gift box opens from the top. This little gift box opens from the top in a different type of flap. These are just cute little boxes. These hold 3 treats. You put the 3 treats in this way for this box, or you load them from the top in this box. And then you just tie a little ribbon or put a bow. If you saw my last video, you saw that we made some Christmas bows, so you can go and make a little bow for your little box. So it depends on how much you like the person. You can give them 3 treats or just 1. And that's what these are for. These are actually snowman treat holders. This is not my original design. This is my take on the actual design. As you can see, they have 2 different hats, and I'm going to show you why. I like the little shorter hats, but a snowman normally has the top hat look. We also did some embellishments, just like we did with our tag boxes and our bows. We simply added some die cuts to dress them up. So let's get started. I'm going to put the candy to the side so I don't eat it. We're going to move our little boxes over to the side, and we're going to talk about the Works board versus the envelope punch board. This has the envelope niche, the little indent. This one, the Works, makes a small indent. This one makes a larger indent, and that's the difference in the two. You can see how much deeper it is or how much smaller it is. But they basically do the same thing in a different type of way, but you can still have good results. This one was made using the envelope punch board. You can see his neck is skinnier and the dip in his hat is deeper. This was made using the Works board. His neck is fatter. He ate a few too many cookies. And his hat has a smaller dip, which works really good for the top hat. And you can leave this out if you just want the top hat to be straight across. They're super easy to make, and again, they take very little pieces of paper, so you can use these for your scraps. So the first thing we are going to start with is a piece of cardstock that is 11 inches long. So it's a full regular US standard size piece of paper. We're using cardstock, 2 inches by 11 inches. So we're going to take a piece of cardstock and we're going to cut it at 2 inches. We just simply line up our cardstock to the 2, and we're going to go ahead and cut out 2 because I'm going to make one on both boards. At least punch all the necessary things so that you can see how to make them. The next thing we want to do is score at 5 1/8, and then we're going to flip it and do 5 1/8 again. If you want to do your scoring at the same time, you can simply open up your Works and do 5 1/8 and 5 7/8, so you can make both lines at the same time. Instead of opening this up and messing up the camera view, I'm simply going to do it at 5 1/8, and then I'm going to turn it over and do it 5 1/8 again. So now that we've cut, we're going to flip this over. This is your scoring edge. This edge here keeps the paper from going all the way through, so that when you put your paper up against it, your measurements are correct. So we're going to go to 5 1/8 and put a score line. We're going to flip it over, put it up against the little thing we just flipped, and we're going to go 5 1/8 again. Gonna make sure I did 5 1/8 both ways. And now I have 2 score lines. I'm simply going to fold my cardstock, and now I have the bottom of my snowman. The next thing I want to do is I want to put his necklines. So regardless of which machine you use, and we're going to do one at a time, so let's go ahead and put the score marks on this one so I can have it ready. We're going to go 5 1/8 again, and if you want, while you have it there, you can go ahead and do 5 7/8. It's easier to remember one measurement than it is to do 2, but this is 5 1/8 and this is 5 7/8. It's entirely up to you how you want to do that. Once you have your score lines, you simply fold your paper, trying to use the tool properly. And now I have one to use for the works and one to use for the envelope punch board. We're going to take this pretty little piece of paper, we're going to take the edge, and we're going to put it to the 2 and punch. We're going to flip, go to the 2 and punch, and then we're going to turn, go to the 2 and punch, and flip, and go to the 2 and punch. And now we have the neck to our snowman. Let's do the same thing on the works board. Now we don't have measurements for the works for the envelope punch. We only have them on the envelope punch board. We don't have them here. But there are little measurements here for the tag punch. This is the circle punch and these are the tag measurements. We're going to take our flat end that we took to the 2 over here. We're going to put it to the 2 over here. Now the beauty of it is from here to here is 2 inches, and that's what this 2 is representing. It's just a nice little coincidence that the 2 here, because the 2-inch tag goes in here, this 2-inch matches up perfectly for this. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if they planned it. With this one, you're going to want to use a palm punch. With this one, it's easier with a thumb. Once we punch the 2-inch, we're going to flip it around. We're going to put it at the 2-inch mark again and punch. We're going to turn it, put it at the 2-inch mark, punch, flip it, put it at the 2-inch mark, and punch. And now we have our neck. We have the skinny neck and the fatter neck. And that's the difference between the 2 punches. The method is the same, but the punches are bigger. See how much bigger? Let me switch around for you. This is this board, this one's this one, and that's how much bigger the punches are. Sometimes you need a bigger punch and sometimes you don't. So that is the body of our snowman. Let's make his hat. Now for his hat, I simply need a 2-inch. Let's flip around our little board because we're no longer scoring. We are now cutting. We're going to cut a piece 2 inches. If you want the taller hat, you're going to do 2 inches by 2 inches. And that will make your taller hat. If you want your shorter hat, you're going to do 2 inches by 1.5 inch. And that will make your shorter hat. For the next part, it doesn't matter which hat you're doing, the brim is still the same. The brim needs to hang off of your hat, so it needs to be 2 1/4 inches. We're going to cut this piece at 2 1/4, and then you need a 1/2 inch piece. I have to say that I have a lot of cutters where the blade is in the middle of the ruler, and it is super hard to cut 1/2 inch pieces. This one's fairly simple. That's one of the things I like about this board. When I get around to getting a good review on this one, so that I can show you every feature it does, I'll make sure I include that is one of the pros to this board. So now I have 2 little strips. They're 2 1/4 by 1/2 inch. So we're going to make the shorter hat with the works, vice versa, and we're going to do the taller hat with this one. Let's start with the envelope punch board. For the hat, you need to, in the center, to put your notch. This is purely optional. You do not have to put the notch. You can leave it straight across. This is what the large notch looks like. And you're just simply putting it in the center. There's no markings. You just line it up. And that's the small one. That's the difference. Now we need to round the two edges on each side of the punch. So we're going to put this in the back, pushing it all the way in. Same thing with this one. And now the edges are rounded. Let's do the same thing with the works. Put it all the way in the corner. All the way in the corner. And now the edges are rounded. This one didn't round them as much as I thought it would, and it might be full of paper underneath there. Let's try again. You are going to want to make sure you put it all the way up in there. That's what it was. It wasn't all the way up in there. And again, this one's better with the palm. Now it is more rounded. The next thing you need to do is make your brim piece. The brim piece, the little piece right here, gets rounded on all four corners. So we're going to put it in. We're going to flip. Then we're going to turn and flip. And now I have all four corners rounded. This is kind of a very small piece for this rounding. Now let's do that with the works. We're going to round all four corners. We're going to put this one in here. For the portion, this is much more proportioned for the round corners. This is a little deep for the round corners for a 1/2 inch piece. And now we have our hat pieces. And let's put them over here so you can see them a little bit better on the white background. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our brims to our hats. And to do that, I like to make mine stand up a little bit. I'm going to use these little self-adhesive squares. These are little 1/4 inch adhesive squares. You can get them at any craft store. You can even get these at Walmart and Dollar Tree. You don't need many. I'm just putting 3. I'm going to take the papers off. And then I'm going to add it to the bottom of my hat. So I rounded the wrong corners. Again, I don't edit my videos. You guys need to learn so that you don't make the mistakes that I make. I rounded these corners, but lucky for me, it doesn't matter. But now I need to go and round these corners. Were you guys yelling at the video telling me, wait, you're doing the wrong ones? I didn't hear you. So now we can place our brim on the bottom. And it purposely hangs off each side to give it that look. I rounded the correct corners on this one. We'll take the paper off our little adhesive. We're going to put the brim of the hat along the bottom. Now for the next part is his little band. Again, 100% optional. If you want to put it on there, you can. I simply made I just cut scrapbook paper. That's all this is. I did a 1/2 inch by 2.5, I believe. Yes, I did 2.5, so I would have a little bit to wrap around each side. So I'm going to add score tape, double-sided adhesive or glue. It's all up to you. Going to remove that. And I'm going to place this on my hat right above. It's stuck to my finger. I'm going to place it right on the edge so that it's barely past the brim. I want to give the illusion that that brim is actually standing out like a normal hat would do, and then I just wrap it around the edges. And now I have a cute little short hat. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I'm going to put score tape along the back, tape and glue works just fine. This actually works really good for the camera. You can see it well. And now I'm going to put the little strip on top of the little short hat. And I'm kind of tucking him down a little bit because I want to make sure his hat has visibility on top. If you went over, score tape, if you rub it with your finger, the oils in your finger will release and you can get the extra off. Without ripping the paper, it actually does pretty well. Of course, now that I said that, it's not going to do it on camera. So now I have a short hat and a tall hat, the little indents and the big indents. Now, if you have both boards and you like the big indents for the neck, but you like the little indent for the hat, mix it up. I'm only doing this so you can see, in case you only have one piece of tools, you can see which one you may prefer. I like them both. I'm really not partial to either one. I really like them both. Now the next thing we need to do is we're going to have to make a nose, and it's going to have to be free-handed. And I think it's actually cuter if it is. Just simply take a piece of orange, take a 90-degree angle, and clip you a triangle. It is entirely up to you how big you want that nose to be or how small you want it to be. And again, we're using up our scraps. So the next thing we need to do is add, you can either add your eyes, then your nose, or you can put your nose and then work your eyes and mouth around it. And see how much character they have? They're not the same. One's got the eyes very close to the hat, closer together. One nose is bigger. The character facial images you can make on these guys are really cute. So let's put our noses down. You also can go ahead and put your hats down if you want to guide better where the noses go. So I am simply going to use some tacky glue. This is Eileen's tacky glue. My favorite one fell behind this counter and I haven't retrieved it yet. So I'm going to just put that right toward the middle. Doesn't matter where. I'm going to put some glue on the back of this one and do the same thing with him. And again, guys, make sure they look cute, but it's a very, very big area for creativity here. I'm going to take a marker. It's kind of a fine tip marker. It's not really a fat marker. And I'm going to do 2 eyes. And then I'm going to do his little mouth. And again, make him smile, frown, be creative. Now he needs his buttons. Or I guess they're his piece of coals. I cannot draw right color inside the line, so if I can do this part and it come out decent, I am sure every one of you guys can too. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our hats to our snowmen. And I'm using the actually this is like the 5/8 score tape. I'm using the little bit wider score tape because I want to make sure that that hat stays on. Just putting a piece across the top of his head. And then I'm going to pull the paper off and add the hat. And I just want to make sure that I don't cover up his eyes and I'm fairly straight. There is no right or wrong. This is not my design. This is my take on the design. Everybody cuts theirs a different size. They score them differently. They decorate them differently. So these snowmen have been around for over 10 years because I've had this board for over 10 years. So he's been around for a very long time, and he's one of the reasons I bought this, not just for envelopes. I saw him before I actually bought the board. So now we have our cute little snowmen so far. Aren't they adorable? You could leave this without the punch, rounding the edges, and make this a girl snowman by putting a pink ribbon here if you wanted a female and male snowman. So the next thing you would do is if you were ready to gift this, then you would go ahead and put some double-sided adhesive and put your candy there. You can do it after the fact. You can go ahead and tie your ribbon, then put the double-sided adhesive, slip it in there, and mash it to the back. That way you can keep these in the fridge. I live in Florida, guys. We can't leave chocolate out. Well, we can, but I would eat it. But we keep our chocolate in the fridge, so you can keep it in the fridge until the last minute and then add it to your little treat holder. If you wanted to add another little gift, you could simply wrap it in tissue paper, put it in a little Ziploc bag, and you could stick it in there as well. You don't have to just do chocolates. Now the next thing I did was I tied a scarf, and what I did for the scarves is I used ribbon. One of the things you don't want to use is you don't want to use ribbon that has too much white to blend in. You want to go with something that's a full color so that you can really see the actual scarf. So we're just going to do this little Merry Christmas. Super easy. You're not tying a bow, you're tying a knot, so you don't have to worry about it being pretty. If we were tying a bow, we would actually try to use our bow making on this works board, but we are not tying a bow, at least not today. You could tie a bow if you want to. So I'm going to cut this ribbon, and we are going to tie him in a knot. And tying is not something that I am good at. I struggle with it. Even making cards after 20 years, I still struggle tying the ribbon properly. I like the tails because it's one-sided, so both sides have to show. So I just do the best I can. And he actually came out pretty cute. So we have Merry on this side and Christmas on that side. What a happy little coincidence. We're going to cut down here at the snowflake. We're going to cut down here. And now we have our scarf. You could also take a piece of fabric and tear it so that it's frayed on the edges and tie a scarf. You could also chain a, you could crochet a chain and tie it around as a scarf as well. So we are not going to tie the other ribbon because I'm sure you guys can tie much better than me. The only other thing we're going to talk about is how we embellished. Now we've been using die cuts. This is the poinsettia. This is the smallest piece. I cut a bright and a dull, and then this is a die cut snowflake. You can add the snowflake anywhere you want. You can add a flower anywhere you want. Pretty much very customizable. You guys can find numerous ways to make sure he looks his best. So let's add the snowflake to this little guy. And I'm simply using it, one of those squares that I just showed you, and I cut it in half. And we're going to add him this time at the top of his hat. When I say I cut it in half, here's the little squares, and I just cut while it's still on the backing like that, and you can get any size you want if you don't have smaller ones on hand. And now we have our little snowman ready to go with his treat. So who are you going to make them for? And they do stand up. You can write a private message on the back, and now he's ready to go. Now let's make our gift boxes. We're going to put him up here. Now if you've seen my other video, you saw that we made these cute little boxes to hold our tags. If you didn't see that video, make sure you go and watch it because you're going to need these little tags. But we made these cute little boxes to go with them. So using that same information on making boxes for our gift tags, we're going to make little gift boxes. So we can put 3 treats in, or a gift, or anything else you want. We can still decorate it the same way by putting a band around it with paper. We can put a ribbon around it. Decorate it any way we want. We can add die cuts to it, put a bow on top. We can close this one up with ribbon, like you would wrap a gift, add a bow or add a die cut. We could also add a flower. So there's a lot of different ways you can dress these up using, again, your scraps. Scrap pieces of red, a scrap that you've stamped and die cut and colored yourself. And I colored this one using glitter gel pens. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but this is super shiny and super cute. So let's talk about how we made these. These were so easy. because I mimicked this box. The first thing we did, and I've lost my paper, here we go, let's just use this, is we took a piece of 6" by 6". So we're gonna come in here and I'm gonna grab a piece of purple. We have a 6" by 6" piece of regular cardstock. Nothing fancy, guys. I got this at a thrift store. It was in a pack of books. I paid $1.99 for the books and I got 100 sheets. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. Keep your crafting on the cheap so you can spend your money on the tools that you'll be using over and over again. So now we have 6" by 6". We're gonna put in our envelope punch board. We're gonna do one box in the envelope punch board and we're gonna do one box in the works because they are basically the same box but glued together differently. We're gonna, again, just like this one, we're gonna go to the 2" mark. Remember, all your boards have a scoring tool. We're gonna go to 2 inches and punch with our palm, and we're gonna score. Then we're gonna go to the 4 inches. If you are using the mini, you are gonna flip it over and go to the 2 inches. If you're using the full size, you can just go to the 4 inch. The mini doesn't have 4, it stops at 3.5, and I wanna make sure that everybody can use this, whether you're using the full size or the mini. So either go to the 4 or flip it and go to the 2. Punch and score. We're gonna flip it around, or we're gonna turn it. We're not gonna flip it, we're gonna punch it 2. We're gonna score. We're gonna punch it 4. Now when you punch it 4 and 2, your little point here should be pointing at the scored line. That's how you know you're still on track. Now we're gonna turn it to side 3. It's lined up with the score line and it's lined up with the 2. We're gonna punch and score. We're gonna go to the 4. If you're using the mini, you're gonna flip it. Now here's where we stopped and we only punched when we made this box. We are going to do everything to the 4th side that we did to sides 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're gonna go to the 2 and it's gonna line up. And we're gonna go to the 4 and it's gonna line up. And now we have all our score lines. We're gonna make this box with this punch. So the next thing we're gonna do, I can do it upside down. We're going to round the 4 points. Our little snowmen are kind of multiplying over here. Let's get them out of the way. Get back there. You're gonna round all 4 of your points. That's the top of this box. So we want it to be very uniformed, very smooth. So we're gonna round them. And now we have all 4 points rounded. You're then gonna take your scissors and you are gonna cut from the score line from here to here, just like we did here. But that is all we cut to make this box. Now we're going to turn it upside down. Here's where we cut. We're gonna come down here and we're gonna do the same thing. And you might have to adjust it to let the light hit that score line. And now we're ready to fold all our score lines in. We're just going to fold everything in, including the little flaps that we just created. Just going around the sides and folding all the lines, and they all get folded in. We're not folding anything back the other way. We're folding them all in, including the little flaps. So now once everything is all done, we're gonna fold these little flaps in, and we are gonna add adhesive to them. You kind of want your flaps to line up with that score line. It'll help your box be a little straighter. Now we're going to take some score tape And for this, what's important is getting this where the fold is and getting this. So you're going to make sure these two, so that when you close the box, you're just bringing that folded line to the edge. This is nice and tucked in. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put the score tape on this flap. So again, I'm going to use 2 pieces. And I don't want the score tape going off, so I'm just going to fold it back. Then I'm going to put it across here, take the paper off, and I want to match it up to the straight edge. Okay, with me so far? We're almost there. Now we want to put adhesive on this and this. So I'm going to take 2 more score tape pieces, and I'm going to put that on here. And again, I did too much. With this, it's super easy, just fold it back. And then I want to do the angle. And I want to put that inside to the edge. I want to line this up, press it down. And now I want to do the last one, which is this one. You can go ahead and put the score tape on all 4, which is what I should have done, so that you're not fighting to get it in there. You would have just been simply pulling the paper off. You can also bring it to the outside real quick, put your score tape on it, and then we can put it on the inside. So now we have to get it back on the inside. And we're going to line it up with this straight edge. Now see the little rough white edges? If that bothers you, that means this paper is white core paper, and that means that the color is only on top and bottom. It didn't go all the way through. It is not my favorite type of paper. It's usually cheap. I've noticed that the Hobby Lobby paper has started being white core paper, and I'm used to the solid core where there's no white on the inside. So something to be looking out for if you are really concerned about the way the edges look. You can go back with the same color marker, like take a purple marker and just let the felt of the marker touch the edge, and it will color that white in and you'll never notice. So now we have our top opening box to add our 3 peppermint patties. How cute, right? So now let's make this box with the top opening with this board. We're going to move this one out of the way so we have some room. We're going to take another 6x6 piece of paper. Let's see, we have purple, green, blue. We have no red. I may have used all the red out of here because I've been making boxes and tags. Oh, look, we got red. Let's take a red. So it's already cut to 6 inches, which is great because that's what we need. Now we're going to do the exact same process, but we're not going to score here. We're going to score over here. So let's simply punch our holes. And we're going to go to the 2-inch, which is the 2 mark by the tag hole punch. We're going to go 2. We're going to flip it over. We're going to go 2. And we're going to do that on all 4 sides. The goal is to have 2 of these punches on all 4 sides. And I can barely see because of the glare. I'm hoping you guys can see that there is a 2 right there. It's very, very, very hard to see it. It's small and it's not shaded in. I might actually shade that in. I didn't realize I was going to be using it as much. And you can also come back and put a piece of tape there so that you know where the 2 mark is as well. We're just simply flipping and punching, flipping and punching, because we want 2 on all 4 sides. And there we go. Now you'll notice we have no score lines because there's no long score line here. There's just this little tiny one. So we're going to use this to make our scores. And for this board, in order to do the scoring, you have to flip this little piece around. This way your paper butts up against it and makes these measurements true and accurate. But that is how we would normally score. This is special. We're going to flip this back around, and we are going to score by lining it up here and here where the flat edge is, just like we did when we made the gift tag box. And we're going to score. We're going to line it up here with the 2 punches and score. We're going to turn it and do the same thing, and we are going to go all the way around all 4 sides doing 2 score lines, going from punch to punch, the flat edge to flat edge. So we are able to do the same thing with this board as we did with the envelope punch. We're just having to do the process a little differently. And it really isn't hard because we have something here to line it up with. It's a little bit more time consuming, yes, but it is not difficult, and it's not a lot of time. You guys see it's taking me just a couple minutes, or not even a minute, and now I have all of my score lines again. So let's close this up. The next thing we want to do is we want to cut. And are you guys yelling for me to clip those corners? For this box, you only have to clip the one. The others can stay square. So let's clip what we're going to consider the top of our box. This way we know that is the top of our box, is the rounded corner. So we have the 2 flaps down here. We're going to turn it upside down so that we can put the 2 flaps here. Now I'm going to fold all 4 flaps in, and I'm going to put the score tape on them now. I'm going to see if that makes it a little easier, a little faster for us to get through it all by putting the score tape on before we go any further. Do I actually... You want the score tape along the folded line because that is the edge of your box, and you want the edge of your box to be secure. A little more so than the rest of that flap. This is just to hold the rest of the flap. But here and here is where you want it to be the firmest, so that you can get, sorry, I had score tape on my fingers, so that you can get the most adhesive where it needs to be. Simply go around. And now we have our score tape. Now let's fold our boxes in. Everybody gets folded inward. Even our little flaps, we've already folded them in, so they're good. Fold the rest of these in. I almost missed my score line that time. Now we have all our score lines folded. Let's go back to our top. This is the top of our box. So we are not going to put adhesive on these 2 flaps because these 2 flaps remain for us to close the box. So that is the difference in how we're assembling them to get this type of closure than this type of closure. Right, so we're going to put adhesive on the bottom, and now I'm going to have to take off my adhesive on the top. So, happy little accident, but now you know what not to do. Is you remember Tina's mistake so that you don't have that mistake. And we're simply going to take this off. If you do it right away, you can usually get it off pretty good. I'm just going to leave that one on. I'll do it later. Let's put the bottom of the box together properly. And we simply want to put that folded line up against the straight edge with our finger before we press down. And we want to do the same thing on the other side before we press down. Now that is the bottom of our box. We need to put adhesive on the front. And this is simply your choice how you want to fold these in. You could have the side overlapping or the bottom. It doesn't matter, because normally what you're probably going to do is you're probably going to decorate it anyway. So let's take Tina's happy little accident off of this. And this is how, if you change your mind at the last minute, you can get the adhesive off too. The oils in your finger is what helps get this off. And because this is really cheap white core paper, you have to be careful because it can rip. So now I need to put adhesive here. And holding it square. And now I need to put my adhesive on the front. And that is how you can take the same measurement, same punches, and make two different types of boxes. One opening this way and one opening this way. You can tuck it in or you can leave it out and put something cute to seal it. So what will you put in your boxes? You can also use the same technique we used in the tag box and wrap a band of paper around it, add ribbon to it, add die cuts to it, layer a cute little flower on it, or any other method that we did making our cards you can use for these boxes. You can even do embossing folders on the box before you assemble it if you want. So that's what I have for you guys today, how to make boxes and how to make treat snowman. These cute little snowmen and these little bitty gift boxes. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new today. Make sure you subscribe and come back because we're still doing Christmas in July and there's no telling what the next video is going to be. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, happy crafting.